you made a video about the Sweet Baby Inc. stuff. We talked about it last time a little bit. The DEI Detected Steam group was temporarily hacked, but they quickly regained access. Did you see that story at all? Do you have any thoughts on that situation?
I didn't see that it was hacked. No. How
Someone
long did
gained
was
access. Just I think it was just a few hours or a couple days at most, because
right.
they're already back in.
Okay.
One of the admins accounts, I don't know who, was
Hmm.
supposedly breached, according to them.
I would think that that's if I were the side that was being accused of all of the things that Sweet Baby Inc. is accused of, the kind of trying to control content and control how people talk and all of those types of things. I would think that even if somebody was just like, it's not like that, that they would have the sense not to hack and attempt to screw up by anything less than decent means. Like, I would think that if you believe, I guess that this is something a lot of people say, but unfortunately, it just is like if you believe in your point so much, why can't you just argue for it? I don't understand like the need to stop your enemies from talking. It's I don't like that.
Okay. Now, one thing that's happened since then is that Mark Kern, a former World of Warcraft developer, Grums on Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
he
Yeah.
is taking this opportunity to. It seems like I want to be a little bit careful here, but it seems like he's grifting, or at the very least trying to prime his audience uh, to
Mm.
do anything. So he's, because of this recent event, the Discord account being hacked. He says, "So let's talk about what we learned from GamerGate 1. SBI Detected
Mm.
was hacked today, and everyone needs to wake up. They are waging war on you. Will use any tactic and break the law to do so. They want you dead. The sooner you realize this, the better. What they've happily done and celebrated before, all GG vets will verify. DDoS you, hack your accounts, SWAT you, phone in bomb threats, plant CP in your forums and servers to report you, dox you, put bounties on your head, go after your families, fake death threats for themselves, paint you as an ist, quote unquote, and go after your career, jobs, etc., assault you in public, ban you from conventions, claim you are the one doing all of this when it's actually them. Nobody reasonable thinks they will go that far, but they do regularly. And if you continue to assume it's all just a misunderstanding, they'll exploit that weakness to hurt you. This is an ideological war where they must destroy you and the past. Protect yourself accordingly and realize what you're up against. That's what, and of course, obviously, well, actually, first off, we should point out that some of what Mark said is not true, okay? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's to my knowledge, and I'm one of the most researched people in this area. Not a single pro GamerGate person was swatted, not over the GamerGate stuff at least, to my knowledge. The bounties
Okay.
thing, I don't ever remember that happening either. But some of the stuff did happen, like the DDoS. Well,
Sure.
it wasn't.
Yes,
It was
I
yeah.
remember DDoS
Well, it
stuff.
wasn't. It was an accidental DDoS they claimed later on. If you're talking about the Find No Capital specifically, they said it was an accidental one, not a purpose. And then the hacking, that there are allegations of that. Bomb threats, that did happen. The CP thing, planting fake CP, I believe that did happen. But doxing, that did happen. Going after your families, I don't know of any specific claims about that. Maybe it happened at some. Well, actually, I guess you could call what happened with that wasn't an anti-Gamergate person though, but like Wild Goose and what the Bill Wagner crew did, but they were third-party trolls. That wasn't anti-Gamergaters. Um, they did go after
Mm-hmm.
my family, I guess de facto, because I lived with my parents. The
Sure.
fake death threats, that's true, yeah. Um, paint you as a NIST to go after your career and jobs. Somebody did that. Well, actually, Zoe Quinn did that. So basically, right, with Tim Saray. So that did happen. Assault you in public. That never happened. He made that up.
Yeah.
Ban you
What is
from
that?
he. Uh, yeah, I don't know. He made that up, I guess. Unless
I
he's
don't remember hearing
yeah.
anybody on either side
No,
actually make any allegation for
no.
that.
Yeah, that never happened. We would have heard about that. Ban you from conventions. That did happen. And then claim you're the one doing it when then it's actually them. That did happen. Yeah. Well, to some
Sure.
extent. Like, it depends on which specific thing you're talking about, right? But
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, he did make up some of this stuff. And of course, people have actually come to my Discord server and they're like, "Hey, Mark's claiming all this stuff. Is it true?" And despite him
Mm-hmm.
claiming all GG vets will verify, quite a few people remain skeptical of his list here. Anyway, the whole point of the list, he throws some real stuff in there, some fake stuff in there. Maybe he misremembered events. I'm not saying he necessarily lied on purpose. It's possible he just has a bad memory. Um,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe he heard something, heard false information somewhere, right? It's possible.
Sure.
But anyway, it seems like the
Yeah.
whole point of this. Actually, let me get your take, and then I'll give my own.
Well, I'll just quickly, because you sent me a tweet on this that I think I do agree very much with, is that it is irresponsible for him to kind of paint to his followers that there's just an amorphous blob of people out for them. I agree
That
with
was
that
my tweet.
very heavily.
Yes.
Yes, that's why I'm saying that I
Yeah.
agree very much with you on that. But as far as
You've cut out, sir.
say absolutely every one of those things is true. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
I
you're,
did.
you're back. You're
I
back.
maybe. Okay, cool. Let's say absolutely every one of those things is true. Let's just go ahead and say that. It would be a small portion of the other side doing that. It would be like. I don't think that all of those are true. I think the assault one is particularly obviously not true because, again, like you said, we would have heard on either side. Like if there was an assault, it'd be like that would be them using that would be them using that to win the day, so to speak. That would be their main thing that they kept coming back to over and over again
Oh, 1,000%.
forever. But let's say that even happened. Like that's not everybody on the other side. It just automatically isn't. And the way that he is framing this tweet, it is very much oriented towards these people are all like this. And there are a lot of people who, and this is exactly how I became empathetic towards Gamergate. There are a lot of people who have genuine reasons to be involved in something that the thing isn't accomplishing. And again, I think that you could probably make it wouldn't be this list, but it would be a list of unsavory things that almost any political movement, positive or negative, you could probably find evidence of that. Like there are very unsavory aspects of most political movements, most fandoms for that matter. It's the way he's framing it. I think that the amorphous blob is probably the best way to say it. And I think that you really picked your words well there.
Thank you.
I don't like that. I just don't like that because again, like if I just this is what I talk about with the team sports stuff. It's flattening and reducing something. And when that's the only thing that's represented to, let's say, Mark Kern's followers, they're going to think that this stuff is true because they aren't familiar with it. They aren't immersed in it. They weren't there a lot of them weren't there a decade ago, et cetera, et cetera. And on the same token,
and he was barely there too, so he really shouldn't be talking about this like he's some sort of supposed
Sure.
expert. I mean, he lived through it like all of us lived through it, but he's not spent. He was very lightly involved. He talked about it sometimes, but like the idea that he's some sort of expert is laughable.
Yeah, I think that what he's doing is unfair.
He's an expert in the way that you are, right?
Yes, yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. He is an expert in that he has relevant experience. That, I mean, I don't know if that really, you can say that's an expert, and in certain respects it is, but in this way, to have the authority to say all of this stuff and ascribe it to all of them, he's not an expert in that respect. That's not something he should have the authority to do as simply somebody who has relevant experience.
And to be clear, he never expressly called himself an expert, but he is passing it on like these are the great tomes of wisdom I've learned.
I mean, yeah,
like that's what he's saying basically, right?
The tone of this tweet is, look at what I know. I've been there. I've dealt with this. I understand it.
Alex
and
Jones.
You need to understand this.
He was there.
I was there, and you need to understand what you're up against. And he literally says that protect yourself accordingly, and realize what you're up against. That's really not the case for the most part. And I'm going to say this with liberals. I'm going to say this with conservatives. I'm going to say this with left, right. It's most people don't do this stuff. It's just not how people operate. People aren't, again, like nobody reasonable thinks that they will go this far. And I'll tell you why nobody reasonable thinks that they will go that far is because most people will not go that far. Are there people who are extreme into some specific cause that they will, like the movie Bob, no bad targets, or no bad tactics, only bad targets. There are people who have that view. I'm not going to say that there aren't. And if anybody has engaged in a lot of that stuff, that type of person will.
And there are people
But
who make excuses for that kind of things too, and that for
certainly,
sure. But this idea that he's literally trying to convince
yes,
his audience
yes,
that this amorphous group. I'll just read what I said, because I called him out on this, of course. It's
yeah,
irresponsible for Mark Kern to rile up his followers into believing that an amorphous mob of people is going to kill them, and that is what he's doing. He is also quick
he
to make
says they
things up.
want you. He says they want you dead.
He literally says this, yes. But I didn't. Let me finish. He is also
Yeah,
quick to
sorry.
make things up, non-existent violence during Gamergate. Few, if any, would call Mark an expert on Gamergate, or a Gamergate expert, I said.
Mm-hmm.
Mark is also quick to attribute various things to the amorphous mob, some of which did occur, others of which didn't, i.e., assault,
Mm-hmm.
and others which may well have
Yeah,
been the actions of third-party trolls. Many who opposed Gamergate have done harm and spread misinformation. That should be opposed, and those who actually know about Gamergate have been working to do just that. Spreading misinformation and fear mongering about amorphous groups of people assaulting and murdering your followers isn't going to solve anything. Ask yourself this:
absolutely.
what games has Mark worked on in the past decade? What is his interest in all of this? If you want to learn about Gamergate, seek out a variety of perspectives. Many experts other than just Grimasaur, James Desborough,
Mm-hmm.
Thoughtful Salt, Porcelain Chips, Alex the Hatman Baldwin, Airplay Doc, and then on Blue Sky, I shouted out Savvy Lizer too, an expert on the other side.
Okay.
But she's not on Twitter,
I
so I
think
didn't shout her out on there.
I think you're asking the right question there. What interest is his in all of this? What is that?
Well, he
Why is he?
claims that he's working on a game right now, but he's on Twitter all the time, so you know, we'll see if it comes out, I
Yeah.
guess, huh?
Well, I mean, I was on Twitter too much, and it stopped me from from making a game.
Well,
So
I'm on Twitter maybe too much too, though. At least my project is directly relevant to this. And I don't tweet
sure,
that much. I mostly like DM people.
yeah. Well, and also it's fair that your project involves actually researching stuff that is on Twitter. So
True.
it's kind of it's understandable in a way that somebody who is allegedly working on a video game being on Twitter all the time is not understandable.